Hey, Johnny Rotten. I study human behavior, so I want to know why we do the things we do. I know this is a little old, but came across it again, and I thought I would read it. If you didn't know, George Rosenkranz, the scientist who fled the Nazis and whose work helped to develop the birth control pill, Rosenkranz research forever changed sexual politics by giving women control over their fertility. This was Sunday, the 7th of July, 2019. There he is in all his glory. This article goes on to say, there's a little lapel pin there. He's got this little boop, 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 hexagons and a little square. She cute. So George Rosenkranz was a Hungarian-born chemist who helped to devise what he called the molecular acrobatics. Oh, you're going to make me. I'll try later. Molecular acrobatics behind the birth control pill, producing a synthetic hormone that forever changed sexual politics by giving women control over their fertility. Rosenkranz, who has now died at the age of 102. Jesus Christ, Smuckers. Did he end up on the Today Show with Al Roker? Or wait, who is it? Who is it that does the 100 years? He's close to that. Was one of numerous scientists and advocates whose work led to the widespread availability of the pill, a drug that has been used in various forms by hundreds of millions of women in the U.S., where the first oral contraception was approved in 1960 and around the world. Go America. The pill was not the result of serendipity, Rosenkranz once said. On the contrary, it was the result of a long chain of events with many individuals and team players involved. Oh, I bet it was. He conducted his research at Syntex, a pharmaceutical company based in Mexico City that he later led as chairman and chief executive. He had settled in Mexico after fleeing Europe along with other Jewish scientists. During the Second World War, many of his relatives perished in the Holocaust. From the earliest days of his career, Rosenkranz was fascinated by the possibility of making synthetic forms of naturally occurring hormones. In 1951, Syntex announced that scientists working under him had synthesized cortisone, a steroid hormone that reduces inflammation, using inedible yams found in Mexico. Earlier methods of making cortisone, which were vastly more laborious and required bile harvested from cattle. Later that year, Rosenkranz and two colleagues, Karl Dejassy, an Austrian-born scientist and fellow refugee from Nazi Europe, and Louis Miramontes, a Mexican doctoral student, were credited with making norethindrone, I'm sure I didn't say that right, a synthetic version of the hormone progesterone that is also called norethindrone, something like that. Initially intended for a drug to prevent miscarriage. Isn't that interesting? That's interesting. It later became the active ingredient in the birth control pill. Rosenkranz credited Ludwig Haberlandt, an Austrian scientist, with identifying progesterone as a contraceptive in the 1920s. In 1960, the Food and Drug Administration approved Invoid by the Cyril Pharmaceutical Company, the first commercially available version of the pill. Similar drugs followed, including Syntex Norelil in 1964, which helped turn the company into a juggernaut. When Rosenkranz joined Syntex, the company was in shambles and nearly bankrupt. Ooh, interesting, he told the publication Pharmaceutical Executive. It was sold in 1994 for more than £3.9 billion to Roche Holdings. Gregory Rosenkranz was in 1916 in Budapest, where his father ran a dance studio. He studied at the Swiss Federal Institute of Technology in Zurich under Leopold Rusnica, I don't know, who shared the 1939 Nobel Prize in Chemistry. Rosenkranz received a chemical engineering degree in 1938 and a doctorate in technical sciences in 1940. And Inca obtained for Rosenkranz a professorship in Ecuador, according to Rosenkranz's son, and the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor in 1941 and subsequent entry of the United States into the war cut short his journey, and Rosenkranz stopped in Havana, where he met and married Edith Stein, a Jewish refugee from Austria, in 1945. Rosenkranz found work at a Cuban pharmaceutical company where he used sarsaparilla root from Mexico to make small amounts of the hormones progesterone and testosterone, which were piqued interest at Syntec. And he went to work for the firm in Mexico City. He became a Mexican citizen in 1949 and a U.S. citizen when he was in his 90s. An accomplished bridge player. Oh, thank God. Rosenkranz wrote more than a dozen books about the card game and inducted in 2000 into the Hall of Fame of the American Contract Bridge League, which named him a Grand Life Master. Holy shit. He and his wife were competing in bridge competition in Washington in 1984 when Edith Rosenkranz was kidnapped at gunpoint at a hotel garage, and he held for nearly 2 days for £785,000 ransom. Her abductors released her near the National Mall after receiving the ransom, which Rosenkranz, under the guidance of law enforcement authorities, deposited under a car in a parking lot in Alexandria, Virginia. Rosenkranz survivors include his wife, 2 sons, 9 grandchildren, and another son. Geraldo died in 2011. He was a chemist, born the 20th of August, 1916, and died 23rd of June, 2019. And you can read more about that on the Washington Post. Wow, Grandmaster Champion of Bridge. You go, George.